Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dennis Wilbur. Welcome to the Making Money Trading Stocks and ETFs for Friday the 13th, July 2018. Glad you made it today. The market has been kind of wonky today. I don't know if it's a Friday the 13th kind of thing. And so I want to welcome Michael Bishop with us from Switzerland. Michael, as I said, I don't show your mic on this, so I can't unmute you in case you wanted to have something to add. But if it does pop up, I will definitely unmute you so you can share with us what's going on in the market. I want to welcome everybody else to today's webinar. I want to remind everybody that all the materials that we do present are for training purposes only. Traders should always paper trade any new method prior to the risk of their own personal capital. My objective with the active trend trading is, one, to provide a system there where we can basically clarify, simplify, so each one of us can multiply their profits and their prosperity going forward. That's what our objective is. I like this quote. I just keep this quote up here. Most trading errors come from a lack of patience and a compulsion to do something, even when nothing really needs to be done. Hence the need to be watching our rules. So our objective for today's session is basically to provide timely, actionable intel review at the end of each week. We've got a couple of stocks we want to review today that we actually jumped into earlier this week. We also want to take a look at the JNUG trade that is ongoing. What we're finding with the market right now is, one, it is at a resistance level, a resistance ceiling. What do we have coming up next week that could bias the market either one way or the other? Well, we have monthly expirations, which tends to bias things to the upside slightly. And so we've had a little bit of volatility this week. The market's pulled back a little bit. However, we're looking for a potential having the market bounce a little bit from here. And so, there you go, Michael. I have you online, but I do not show. There you. Where'd you go? There's your. We get into the market review, and then we'll take you off mute. Let's take a look at the stocks and ETFs. So performance bonus trades that we were working on for this week. We actually put in a position on HTHT with a conditional order, and we are currently in that trade. The market has been kind of wonky. Not a lot of traction between last week and this week. We're up from the active trend trade at about 19%. S&P, or correction, the Dow went back into the positive, into the green today. It was slightly down last week. S&P's up almost 5% for the year. However, it's really struggling to push through to higher levels. NASDAQ Composite and NASDAQ Composite also right up against the ceiling. Russell right up against the ceiling. Are things going to push through? Are they basically going to stall out right now and pull back a little bit? The momentum isn't quite in our favor right now. So I'm going to go to Michael Bishop right now. I'm going to unmute you, Michael, and just say, hey, how have you been? And then what's going on in the stock market in Europe?
Yeah, hello. I'm doing fine, thank you. You can hear me?
We can hear you fine. Thank you.
Okay, that's perfect. And what's going on? Well, European market, same picture like Brazil or many other countries have been weak. And it almost looked like things are pretty bad. But I think in the last 2 weeks, or especially this week, there is a pretty strong reversal. So if you take the last 6 months into consideration, I mean, the US market has done exceptionally well. And if you add the strong dollar to it, then for a foreign investor, US was the place to be.
Okay. And what European ETFs or markets are you looking at? Do you have an ETF I can take a look at real quick to see what Europe is doing?
There are two ETFs that are pretty good. One is EFA, that's kind of everything except America.
Okay.
So that's Europe, Japan, Australia, I think.
Yeah.
I see it. And another one is FEZ, that's all the Euro countries.
Yeah, and tell me what the FE.
And I think it looks very similar.
Okay, and again, and set is what? So I'll understand it. E.
Set, the third one. No, set. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, kind of interesting here. Just taking a real quick look at this. This had been down, working its way down, while the U.S. market, of course, had been in an upturn, turning back up to the upside. And what was the other? And so it looks like I mean, do you think some of this big push down since January? I mean, the U.S. market is a down. You know, it's not really gone a lot since January. But do you think that this here is partly due to the tariff noises, and what is going on? What's going on with the tariff tango there in Europe? Is there concern about the big push for tariffs, and everybody's doing the saber rattling and all that type of thing?
Well, yes and no. I mean, it extremely depends on the industry. I mean, for banking, no issues. And I mean, for the German cars, they have anyway different problems, and with their diesel cars, etc.
Yeah.
And I mean, if a major tariff would pretty hit them hard. But on the other side, things are so complicated. For instance, I think they are kind of in a lose-lose situation. For instance, I think Mercedes or BMW produces their SUVs to a big portion in the US. So if Europe then goes on with tariffs as well, then these cars would be affected for European sales, and I mean it gets pretty messy. But I think, I mean, also if you look to the picture, it would be, I mean, maybe the last three downturns there, or the candles are the tariffs effect. But okay. I mean, you see the market has been weak the whole year.
Yeah. So, yeah, one of the ideas and concept that I was playing with, or just kind of like hashing over in my mind, was I've noticed, both the European market, certainly the Chinese market. Chinese market is in a bear market.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering to myself, is that indicative that does it put the United States in a little bit better bargaining position, because our market is definitely not even close to a bear time kind of market. And so just some of the things I'm thinking about, and because there is the Chinese market, but what's very interesting is also it dropped 22% from the high back in January, but now it's putting in some nice little reversal type signal candles. Hasn't reversed totally yet on the weekly chart, but it looks kind of interesting. If we take a look, let's take a look at a longer term chart, and I'll throw up here is the FXI on a monthly chart, and as you look at the ups and downs of the Chinese market have been very real, going all the way back to, 2007.
Uh-huh.
It went into a real big bear market, and then it's just basically driven sideways since the rest of the world came out of the bear market in 2009. The Chinese market just driven sideways. Had a huge pullback back in 2016. Nice rebound. Another pullback here. And so I guess the question right now, yes, we've got a 20% correction in the what could be categorized as a bear market with the Chinese market, but it's just the pullback to support. Then once everything is hunky-dory on the tariff scene, it's going to blast up and move higher. We shall see. Because one of the things, Michael, that a lot of people here talk about is that part of the bluster about President Trump is he does a lot of firing for effect. In other words, what I mean is he'll say something, do something to get a reaction. And, it's like part of being a business person. He wants to see what the other person does first. And that's one of the reasons why the politicians are so, have such a hard time handling him, because they don't understand that if you will, the art of negotiation. And kind of interesting. So what kind of stocks are you looking at right now? What are some of your favorite stocks you're looking at?
I like technology all across the board. For instance, I still keep on with MELI. That's Brazil. That's basically the Amazon of Brazil. And that was pretty good to me. Okay, yeah. Hey, let
me get out of the. Yeah, this looks really good on a monthly and a weekly chart. Looks like it's just coming out of a nice pullback back down to support. Let's take a look at this on a. And this is part of the thing, guys, that we're trying to do in these Friday webinars. Is we want to basically just give you some trading ideas to shape up for next week. So Melee, I kind of like this. This looks really good from a longer term basis. I don't know what kind of volume it does, but okay volume. It's almost up to 1 million shares on average. What else do you like?
Overstock, I think OSDK.
Yeah, now, of course, on any of these guys, I would want to be doing the stock checkup on the IBD web page and all kinds of just to see what they're going to look. And but this is a really nice one. I mean, it looks like it may be setting up for a pre-earnings run. Pre-earnings run is on right there, 2882 after the market closes. But if it breaks out above the 41 level, 42 level, it probably has a clear run all the way up to 50 or even 55 prior to earnings. And so that's a really another nice one. I like those, Mike.
And one I'm always look, so or in the kind of last year or so, I always look at it is Shop. It had what's
the ticker on that?
That's a Canadian company basically offering the best web shop for do-it-yourselfers.
SHOP?
Like the shop. Yeah. There you go. Shopify.
Shopify. There we go. Yeah, nice move up.
And it looked a little bit scary. I think this was around... but now it's thunderstorm has gone.
One of the things I've been working with for the premium members is I've been doing these learning how to work with these. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. These time series, and it's really interesting how that they've been working out. Like because oftentimes stocks prices move not only symmetry as far as the amount of the move, but also symmetry in the timing of the move. So we look here at Shopify, and it basically has got, you know, nice up here, nice up here. Well, looks like about the same time frame for this run up, and then it pulled back nicely. Well, you can just take this, and I'm on the time extension of the fibs, go back up to the high, then come back down here to the low. And what it'll do for you is it'll project out that if it maintains time symmetry, that Shopify will probably run into a high around 729. And isn't it? Okay, isn't it really interesting how that is very close to when the earnings turns out to be? Okay, very, very interesting. But anyway, I'm working with this. I'll be making some presentations on the Fibonacci time extensions for our premium membership. It's intriguing. It's just absolutely phenomenal. And so when you can combine both, you know about the Fibonacci's for price extensions, well, combine that Fibonacci with time extensions, and it gives you a really good idea of when things possibly can happen, when they can hit a peak. And what's amazing is those of you who use Fibonacci, you know, it always amazes me how close it comes to being really, really darn accurate, you know, accurate as far as projecting prices. So, okay, let's move along, Michael. I want to do a real quick look at spiders and represent the S&P. As you can see, what we're seeing here with the S&P, and thank you very much for those stock ideas. I really, really like those, and I'll be taking a harder look at those.
Good to hear. You're welcome.
And I really do. Let's take a look at this. Yeah, spiders. What's going on here? Well, spiders have worked their way up into a new high. Well, not a new high, but back up into what we'll call the resistance ceiling. And so we could anticipate perhaps a little bit of a pullback. We had a one-day pullback this week, and then a bounce higher. And so this is another place where you can go in and lay in these timing sections. If I time this out from low to high, back to low, where does that tell us that the S&P is likely to start running out of gas? Well, anywhere from where it's at right now to around the 17th, which is, I want to say Tuesday of next week. That is correct, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. And there's a lot of other market analysts who are basically saying, hey, you know what, the market looks like it's getting a little bit toppy, could run out of gas midsection of next week. And so it's kind of nice to have that additional information there. So we're up at resistance. If we get a TSI daily negative divergence currently, we don't have a rollover yet. We do not have a candlestick reversal pattern like we had when it hit the highs back here in June. So we'll stand by. Get some spinning tops, get a little bit of wicky, but hasn't ripped to the downside yet. What else do we got? We have Qs. Okay, Q looks really, let me blow this up just a little bit. One other thing I hope it helps everybody is I went to a slightly larger font on my computer, so hopefully you can see that. Secondly is once you see the recording, you can adjust, go down to the right-hand corner, you can adjust the definition of the videos. So Qs. If Qs stay where they at right now, we've got a bearish Harami, which is a reversal signal, but we do not have a confirmation with the TSI rolling over. We're making a slightly higher high. However, not so on the TSI. TSI is showing negative divergence. We just had a 3-line cluster on the market forecast on a daily basis over the last couple of days. And so that could lead to a reversal down to the downside. Again, we can do the projection out. And about midsection of next week shows that the market, timing-wise, that would be a good time for it to roll over and I won't say die, but roll over and do a pullback. Because right now what we're looking for is just pullback so we can get long. IWM. There we go. The Russell, a little bit weaker than the rest of the other indexes. It pushed up, did kind of a double top thing Monday of this week, and then has basically fallen back. So a really nice bearish reversal signal on the Russell, bearish engulfing on Tuesday, excuse me, and then has not been able to get back above the body on Tuesday's candle all week. TSI, negative divergence. TSI weekly, rolled over. The shooting star inverted hammer from 4 weeks ago is still a valid reversal signal. So that's what we're looking at for that. And so, hey, let's jump into a couple of the other entities that we were watching for the week. One is, of course, gold, GLD. So what we see with gold, it is at a level of support that has been at a level of support for quite some time, going all the way back into, well, gosh, just as early as December 2017, it held. One of the things I want to see, though, is with gold, with some of the other entities, is I want to see the weekly chart. I want to see the weekly chart give me a TSI tick up down here from this lower reversal zone. As we can see previously, back in, this was December 2017, I want to say that. Oh, I'm sorry, December 2016. On the weekly chart, got a really severe oversold condition, got a reversal, a lower reversal, coming back up off the bottom, TSI ticks up on a weekly chart, and then goes into a really fine run. Similar, we do not have that tick up yet. We thought we had the reversal on gold a couple of weeks ago, but it's basically just gone back up to the, interesting, right back up to the uptrend line, rejected it, fell back down to support. But now what we have going on, which is very good, is we have positive divergence on a daily chart as the price action has come down to retest support. Now, that isn't a 100% guarantee that we are going to get a total bounce here, but it is, showing positively for gold. We'll take a look at, and just real briefly, we'll take a look at the, I got to keep, what time is it? Yep, we got to keep moving on. Got about 2 minutes before I get finished up here. So gold. So what does that mean for JNUG if you are long JNUG? As we see, JNUG has coming back and doing a retest. We got in JNUG down here about 1330. Our stop loss is down here below the low of this day here, which is at the low that day is 1291. We have a stop loss in at 1280. Got an email today from one of our members who said, well, could he move his stop loss down to below the Keltner channel? That makes sense to do, simply because we know that typically the Keltner channel is going to contain 85% of the price action. So, and that would put it down at about, the Keltner's at about 77. So if you went down to 70, you would be given it a dime more. But that may be just enough to keep us in a trade. Of course, we'd like to see now a bounce higher from here as we're going back to retest where we got in. And we'll just have to wait and see on what's going on with JNUG. The other one that we got into earlier this week, HGHG. I got into 2 Chinese stocks this week, primarily because the anticipation that the Chinese stocks are going to go into rally mode. You know, will they? Was the bear market over? Will they rally into the end of the year? You know, I really don't know, but it was a very attractive position. HTHT has been on the IBD 50 and other lists, you know, for multiple weeks. We were down here, we tested down here at the 40 level, at the 100-day moving average, and now we're starting to move up. We're in this at about 41.35-ish. And so we want to see this expand to the upside and drive back up to the old highs. We're looking at this for a potential, if the Chinese does come out of its bear market, we want to be in early on some of its better stocks. BABA is another. We also got into BABA down here. When we came down here and tested, right here, my test point was the midsection of this big green candle right here. We dropped below that. We were filled on Wednesday, and now we've proceeded to continue back up. I would like to see get a bounce off the weekly midsection here on the TSI to move up from there. You guys we already covered GLD. I will cover JNUG. We covered that. IQ by request. Yeah, IQ, Gary, looks really good. I mean, I would want to take a look at the volume. Looks good. I know nothing about the stock itself. It's an ADR. What country is it from? Oh, it's China Netflix. I didn't know that. Another thing to add to my list and take a look at. So, hey, there you go, Michael. Here's a Chinese, if you're still with us, there's the Chinese Netflix.
I am? Yeah.
All right. Let's see what else we have. And then...
yeah, IQ, I followed that a little bit.
Yeah.
I think, no, I don't have a position.
Oh, this looks really interesting. Okay. Earnings coming up on the 16th of July, which is next Monday. So next week could be an exciting week. Monday after market, probably. Yeah, after market. And so, yeah. Hey, thank you very much, guys. And other folks, for future sessions, just remember, if you want us to take a real quick look at a stock, I've run a little bit over today, but that's okay because, well, one, we covered some really good stuff. But Netflix earnings selling off, that sets us up for something very interesting. I'm not going to, definitely this is something I'm not going to play earnings on Netflix, especially back up to the upside. But a couple of the ones that I am interested in playing earnings are BABA. There'll be others, but BABA, well, that's a good type. Sorry about that. BABA. Earnings coming up when? Earnings coming up here on the 2nd before the market. So I'm looking towards, the 19th, the 20th of July, all the way to the 23rd or the 24th of July to look for putting on a bullish trade, buying calls. We'll wait for the intraday chart to take a look at that. And so that's kind of my window for doing that. Tesla has just been a crazy stock.
I just look for next week. IBM has earnings, and eBay and American Express and Morgan Stanley are kind of one.
And then
and
Tesla has earnings coming up 8/1. after the market. And so, and then what else did you say, Michael?
So IBM?
Yeah.
At the same day, eBay and American Express and Morgan Stanley. So that's a big one, I think, next Wednesday.
Yeah, because they're doing the banks right now. IBM.
And then Microsoft the day after.
Now, one thing I will say is like, why don't I trade something like Microsoft on earnings? Well, probably it's because it's not volatile enough. In other words, the moves are just too small. On a weekly basis, it's moving something like $4.51. And also the other reason why is because because it's so predictable, the implied volatility doesn't go up as much. So anyway, okay, let me go back to the slides real quick. I am so glad to have you on today, Michael. And so let's go through here. Here's where we're sitting now. As of 10 o'clock today, we're up about 19%. For our premium members, we've been putting out this go, no-go table. This is one from the 8th, as you see. It always highlights exactly what we're looking at on every one of the entities we're looking at. We try to limit. We want to have a focused look at certain ETFs and stocks that we're interested in trading, that we would like to either build positions in or swing trade. So we want to be focused but not myopic. BABA, HTHT, showed up and they basically said, hey, on a pullback to 188 to 190, you want to get into BABA and also potentially sell some puts, and we got into the stock. Daily TSI tick up, HTHT, long trigger at 41.35 with a stop below 39.30. That's exactly where we got into this stock. So here's what we're doing. Had a great week in the strategy 3. Pulled in about $1,100. I've already cleared off the table at $1,100 in profits. Here's where we're at with our gold seasonality. And I'm also keeping an eye on oil seasonality. But what we've got going on here is, as you see, towards the end of July, in seasonality, gold tends to get a bounce. Now, I recognize this bottom can slide either way, somewhere between 3 to 4. Right now because gold floor to hold, but it may pop down below it a little bit and then take off from there. Oil, similar type of thing. Looking for a bid up into the end of the year in oil. Some people are looking for oil to be up at $90 a share. So I want to thank you all for being there. Keep the A growing. And for the premium members, we'll be back in a half hour with the final hour where we look at some trades we got setting up. Michael, thanks for joining us today. I really appreciate it. It's been awesome.
Well, thanks for having me, and looking forward next week. Can't promise, but I will do my best.
Okay, excellent. Good day, everybody else, and God bless. Aloha.
Aloha. Good to see you.
Okay.